I'm going to pivot now quickly to our injury report because we talked about Mitchell Robinson. No real update there until he starts getting cleared for practice and running, and that hasn't happened yet. With Miles McBride, the hamstring has been tricky for him. I think he missed 5 games last time he had the hamstring. I would expect him to be back for that OKC game. And then with Karl Anthony Towns, I mean, Steve was in Chicago, saw Towns do a big workout after the game, after he left that game late in the fourth quarter. And since then, I've been told that this is not a serious injury, nothing long-term at all, and he should be back soon, maybe as soon as Wednesday, so nothing to be overly concerned about there. Steve, Mitchell Robinson, the absence, what do you think the Knicks can expect from him? What do you expect from him? The rest
well, a couple of things. Obviously, none of us know because we don't see him, we don't talk to him.
Yeah.
It's a strange situation, but I have seen him, at morning shoot around, not on the court, but coming off of it, and he does look like he took off some of the weight that he had put on. That I think some guys in the organization were a little worried about. But I think the problem with considering Mitch as a trade target is that the same as other team as the Knicks consider him, a risk. Other teams do it. I've talked to scouts and some people, executives from other teams, and they kind of see it as a tank move right now because there's no belief that a guy his size who's had these multiple foot leg injuries is not going to succumb to it again. He's a good contract. He's a good player when he's healthy. But I think there's that risk there that people see and they're hesitant to bite on it.
Yeah. I know that also with the Knicks being where they are in the CBA, they cannot take back more salary than they send out. So that makes trades tricky because of where they are. And then, you look at, they had interest in an Isaiah Stewart from Detroit in the offseason. Be a tough deal to make at this point, given where they are and other names out there. I just don't expect them to make any kind of a significant trade. Brandon Ingram's name is going to be out there. Jimmy Butler, we talked about other big impactful players. I can't see the Knicks making that degree of a move with this team at this time. I think that if anything, it's going to be a bench player. Help off the bench. Maybe it's center, depending on where Robinson is, but I don't think there's going to be a big swing taken at this trade deadline. And Deej, are you rooting for Robinson to come back all the way, or do you want to see them go in another direction?
I was a notorious Mitchell Robinson hater just because of this, the injuries that he has. They're always like nagging issues that kind of mess up our team. But this version of this roster, I am rooting for him because I think he fits in perfectly. I got to be honest. I think playing Mitch with Cat, playing, Cat, giving Cat spot minutes, having Mitch come in, I think that works good with a Tom Thibodeau lineup, especially when you don't have to have Cat being overwhelmed at the 5, even though he's been playing fantastic. We still, as the fan base, still, like to expect some perimeter and paint defense. And, I think what Mitch does for Cat specifically, because it takes so many people to try to out-rebound Mitch, is that Cat will get open opportunities, open looks. I don't think he's got, like, that many open looks from somebody else being in the paint other than himself. So I actually am rooting for Mitch. And I actually agree with Steve and you. I just don't know what it would be to get Mitch a trade because, again, the same things that nag him, they would probably nag the other team. You brought up Valanciunas, and that's another guy that's on my veteran waiver. I don't see a team trading for him with 1 year left when the Wizards could just buy him out and everybody pounce on it that way. So I'm looking more specifically towards that veteran week. I'm not looking towards the trade deadline because the assets that we have are so slim. So again, good suggestion from Steve and you, Ann.
I actually think the Valanciunas thing makes sense, and I've tried to ask about that because he makes less than Mitch.
Oh yeah,
I think so. It sort of fits in that way. And for Washington, if he was to sit the whole year, if Robinson that fits their tank mode. You have a guy who's a decent player next year, on your cap for a low number. They do have cap space to absorb him, so it's interesting. Look, every time I think that something can happen, Brock Aller figures out some way to turn $1 into 10 million and make it happen. So I don't put anything beyond them right now.
And not only that, and Steve, but like the fan base knows this very well. Whenever we see a name connected to the Knicks, they get to the Knicks.
It's
Pat and Brunson all the way down. So
yeah.
It's funny. I think Steve and I were talking about Jalen Brunson not soon after, or a few months after maybe Leon took over, because of those connections. And I'm sure we both thought it was Karl Towns' name pretty early on after Leon took over too. So the Valanciunas things would be interesting. I do think Washington, I don't think this is posturing. I think they really do value him as part of what they are doing. That's why they signed him. So I don't think they're going to dump him for nothing. So it's interesting to see where that shakes